Cultivation, WN, Chapter 41. You heard me. After leaving the restaurant, Su Yang walked a straight path through the streets until he reached the other end of the city, where the exit gate was stationed. When he reached the gate, Su Yang noticed a large group of people and a few carriages waiting right outside the gate. They were all equipped with weapons and armors, looking as though they were about to enter a battle. There were even a few people in robes that looked to be disciples of some sect mixed in with the crowd. By the time Su Yang passed the guards and stepped out of the city, the majority of the crowd was already looking at him with many different kinds of gazes. Some gazes were filled with envy and others looked at him with disdain. But of course, there were also a few females there that looked at him with adoring lights in their eyes. Under the gazes of over 50 people, Su Yang calmly walked the road, his expression as tranquil as a still lake. He didn't care what they were doing, nor was he interested. However, his ears couldn't help but pick up the whispers of the crowd. Isn't that a disciple from the Profound Blossom sect? The only shameless sect that chooses its disciple by their looks first and talent second? Yeah, that sect. All they do is screw each other day and night without proper training, hence why they usually have a high cultivation base but zero experience in combat. They only cultivate for their looks, so they wouldn't care even if they only have high cultivation bases and nothing else. Su Yang acted as though he didn't hear anything when the disciples from another sect within the crowd spoke badly about his sect, but he was laughing deep inside. While their words were harsh, there was actually some truth behind it. The Profound Blossom sect was known for their beautiful people, vulgar practices, and high cultivation base. However, the majority of its disciple had little to no experience when it came to techniques for combat. At least that was true within the outer court. From what Su Yang received from his memories and what he personally witnessed in the outer court disciples are usually so focused on increasing their own cultivation base that they barely bother to train in real techniques used for combat. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that most outer court disciples would rather spend their time in bed with their partner than to actually pick up a sword and train until they sweat. Suddenly, somebody from the front shouted out loud, causing everybody to look at him. It was a bulky man with a bald head. All right, everybody, we are ready to travel to the Thunder Valley. If you are not ready by now, then you should just go back home. Some of the crowd laughed at the bulky man's words. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. How long will the journey to the Thunder Valley take? Asked a skinny man with a bow in his hands. 5 days, give or take. Do you have any idea how many lightning cats will be there for us to slay? We are unsure of the exact number, but they are in the hundreds at least, said the bulky man, and he continued, listen here. There will be a lot of lightning cats running around and it will be a difficult subjugation. However, this just means that there will be more wealth for all of us to share afterward. A thundering battle cry suddenly resounded, causing Su Yang's hairs to tremble. What a lousy crowd, Su Yang thought to himself, and he looked at the paper in his hands. This mission seems to be bigger than expected. It has been some time since Su Yang left the Swift Feather City. He calmly walked down the middle of the wide path with his hands behind his back, looking as though he was taking a stroll in a park. He was looking left and right, seemingly interested in Mother Nature. Behind him was a large group of 50 people, all of them watching Su Yang in the lead with weird expressions. Why does it look like we're all being led by that dog? Someone from the crowd purposely said out loud. Now that you mention it, why are we walking at his pace? We can't go any faster because we are already cramped as it is. This is unacceptable. We won't make it there by next week at this rate. Hey, brat in the white robes. Get out of the way before we run you over. The bulky man shouted in his obnoxiously loud voice. Hearing the loud commotion coming from the back, Su Yang turned his head around and glanced at the crowd. However, he didn't stop walking and returned to looking at the front after a single glance. His simple yet arrogant action instantly angered many in the crowd. You fucking brat, are you picking a fight with all of us by yourself? Simply courting death. Su Yang didn't bother turning around for the second time and continued to walk at a casual pace. Everybody within the crowd was at least at the 7th level of the elementary spirit realm, with a few of them at the early profound spirit realm. Such a large group radiated an overwhelming pressure that would easily scare anyone weak-hearted, yet in Su Yang's eyes, they were only a bunch of fools with loud mouths. HMPH, let's see if you dare ignore me after I start swinging my axe at you. The bulky man stepped forward and approached Su Yang with a wide steel axe in his grasp. It was at this moment Su Yang suddenly stopped walking and turned around to face the crowd. I won't tell you to not swing that toy at me, but just know that you will not step foot inside the Thunder Valley once you do, ever. Su Yang said in a low and calm voice, his face still as tranquil as ever. However, his low-sounding voice was as loud as a fly buzzing directly in the ears of the bulky man. What did you just say to me, you fucking brat? The bulky man's forehead began popping with veins the moment he heard Su Yang's threat, his face red from anger. Su Yang smiled and said, you heard me. He then turned around and began walking again.